What's up, you guys? Welcome to today's video. As you can tell by the title, we are going to be doing Breaking Bad versus real meth culture. Now, this is just a fun, kind of pointless video for your entertainment, not to make light of addiction, because as most of you know, I'm a recovering addict with 8 years of sobriety. So this video is just fun, it's just laid back. I'm not trying to make fun of addicts because I was definitely there. And for those of you that are unaware of my past, I am a poly addict, meaning I was addicted to multiple substances, methamphetamine being one of them. So we're just having fun today. That's what today's video is. Also, I am very aware of how severe the world situation is right now, but it's okay to laugh. It's okay to watch other things besides the news. Please follow all of the regulations from medical professionals. That is all I'm going to say about this current situation, as we talked about it in my Wednesday live stream. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Before we get into today's video, I want to give a big shout out to Maddie on my Instagram, who gave me this idea a couple of weeks ago. I love you, girl. Brilliant idea. So yeah, Breaking Bad is my all-time favorite show. If you don't watch Breaking Bad, or if you have not seen Breaking Bad, I don't know what you have done with your life. It has been over for 7 years, so don't even say I'm giving spoilers. Y'all have had 7 years. I don't want to hear it. But if you haven't seen it, just watch something else today. This is my favorite show of all time. Vince Gilligan is a freaking genius. This show is so badass. I also love Better Call Saul. Oh, I haven't seen the movie yet, for the Breaking Bad movie. I don't even know what it's called. Maybe I should have looked that up before this video. Whatever. We're just winging it like everything else, right, guys? So, I am a huge Breaking Bad fan. As a matter of fact, I was going to get the phrase "no half measures" somewhere in my sleeve, but we didn't have like room for that. Now, I am obsessed with Breaking Bad for so many reasons. You don't have to have lived the life that I lived to enjoy this show. There is something for everyone, and I think Vince Gilligan and the other writers and producers of this show did an amazing job, because even something as small as Jesse saying bitch, like, there was an evolution of Jesse saying bitch, how he would say it, and how the sentences were when he said it, what his tone of voice was. There was a progression in which he said bitch and became more comfortable with saying that. Actually, there's an entire video about the progression of the word bitch on this show. Like, that's how deep it gets, right? At first he's saying biatch, and then he's saying bitch. Then there's pauses in between what he says. Like, my favorite bitch of the show is where Jesse tells Hank in the hospital, all beaten up, he says,
"You're my free pass, bitch."
Bitch. And there's a pause between that. It was so like serious. So the evolution of the word bitch is definitely present in the show. I love it. So let's go to some scenes that I think are absolutely realistic for meth culture. The first one that comes to my mind right away is the digging scene. Now, Jesse and Mike are together, and Jesse's just tired of Mike having to scope people out, and just they're waiting in this car. Jesse's not having it. So Mike tells him to wait in this car. They're trying to get these people out of this house because they have meth, and they, I guess, have stolen meth from Gus, if I'm remembering correctly. So Mike wants to stay in the car and just be a cop, because Mike is a retired cop. He's just gonna sit there and he's just gonna wait. And he's used to doing that. He's used to waiting for long hours for things to happen, and, you know, just doing the whole cop thing. And Jesse's like, bump that, I know tweakers. So Jesse grabs a shovel out of Mike's car, and he just starts digging in the front yard because he knows these people are high on this substance. So Jesse just starts digging, and the guy almost immediately comes out and he said, "What are you looking for?" And Jesse said, "You know what we're looking for." That scene is so funny and is so accurate. So again, not to make light of addiction at all, but when you are on that kind of a drug, your mind is just obsessed with things, and it's very easy to get stuck on something, to get stuck doing something, to see one person like kind of freaking out and they're like, "Oh, I have to dig." It's very easy to convince yourself that, yeah, it's down there. nothing's down there, and they don't say what it is, but they're gonna dig for it. It makes no sense, but that is 100% accurate. And when I saw that scene, I died laughing because it's true. You know, I've seen addicts, I have been an addict, I've seen these kinds of things happen where people just get fixated on one thing and they cannot stop doing it. So again, not to make light of the situation, but as far as the show and the reality of that, 100% true. I really want to talk about Walter is very obsessed with his recipe. He's very obsessed with the chemistry behind making his product. He's very prideful of it. He thinks he is the best cook. He thinks he is the smartest chemist. He thinks he is the best at what he is doing. And you're not going to tell Walter that he is not the best, that his product is less than because it is perfect, right? That is 100% accurate when it comes to cooks in the street. They think they are the best cook. I've seen this so much when I was in the South. And you know, this was a really difficult thing for me to hear about because when I first got to the South and I first started using methamphetamine, I didn't want to know what was in it. And when people would try to tell me their recipe and tell me how they cooked it, I was like, whoa, pump the brakes. Like, I'm not trying to hear your recipe, Gordon Ramsay. I don't want to know what I'm putting in my body, right? So I was just really like, if I black it off, it's not real. If I pretend that I don't know what's in it, then I can have my little denial party and I can pretend that it's not that bad. This is just something that keeps me awake and keeps me productive. That is the lie that addiction told me, and I was unwilling to hear anything about it. Then when I got sober in a jail cell, a lot of people would come through the county that were cooks and they wanted to talk about it. They wanted to talk about war stories, meaning stories from using. They wanted to talk about the recipe and how long it would take, or this one time where something blew up, because it's very dangerous. Very, very, very dangerous. And I would have to walk away from that, or if they were my cellie, I had to tell them, listen, with all due respect, I don't care about your fucking meth recipe. I cannot listen to it. Please respect the fact that I am going through it right now, that I'm going through withdrawal. I'm going through trying to recover. Your brain takes a long time to heal. Your dopamine receptors take months and months and months to heal. I wasn't feeling anything. I wasn't feeling good because my brain was not allowing me to feel good. My normal dopamine receptors were not there. They were completely fried. That took a long time to level out for me to even smile or crack a joke. And if you know me in my personal life, I am very funny, and I'm not, I mean, not to brag, I'm not like the funniest person ever, but I'm always trying to make people around me laugh. And I'm very lighthearted with things. That took me a long time to be comfortable enough to even crack a joke. I mean, it took me years to heal. And the person that you're seeing sitting here today is not the person that I was 8 years ago. I was so tired and drained and miserable and angry and bitter, and I was not healthy. So if you're watching my channel and you take nothing out from anything that I have ever said, please know this: recovery is possible. It just takes time. I didn't wake up one morning and become the person that you see. It took a lot of years of growth and sacrifice and discipline and tears and self-reflection, all of that to get where I am today. And hard work. You cannot get away from that part of it. A lot of work. Let's go to a scene that is so unrealistic that would never, ever, ever happen in my personal opinion. That is the train scene. Now, if you're a big Breaking Bad fan, you know this scene. It's like crazy. So basically they need a chemical called methylamine. So they need it to make their cook, right? And what Walter has figured out is that this train is coming through. I forget how they figure it out, but this train is coming through. There's methylamine in the train. So basically what they have to do is they have to take out the methylamine on this train and fill it back up with water. So that scene is crazy. A lot of shit happens during that scene. And let me just tell you right now, no, so fake, so unrealistic, so TV, right? But it's still such a freaking badass scene because they have to get this chemical. So that's crazy. But I do want to say that if you are an addict on this kind of a substance, you will do whatever you have to do to get the chemicals that you need to make your own personal stash, which people on drugs are not thinking clearly. People on this substance or any substance are not thinking clearly. They're not thinking about how dangerous and how awful this is for their body. They could easily blow up their house, blow up a car, wherever they are, it could blow up. So they're risking their lives to make that, and I promise you, anyone that is using that kind of drug doesn't care. The risk to them doesn't matter, and that is what is so sad, because once they get sober, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I would ever risk that. I can't believe I would ever risk my house or my car or my own life. But that's just what drugs make you do. I want to go to season 1, episode 1, where Walt is cooking for the first time and they're in a RV or like a really old like Winnebago, and they're making their recipe in the middle of the desert. That is realistic AF to me, because people do that. They convert those Winnebagos and they make them little rolling labs, and it's super dangerous. I've even seen someone convert a car, like a van, into their own personal lab. Super dangerous, not only to you, but if you're doing that in an area where something else could catch fire, or it's just so dangerous and so stupid. So never do that. I think the really cool thing about Breaking Bad is that they really just showed these characters, and everything was so intricate in this show. Even the colors that Walter wears went from light to dark at the end of the show. Light in the beginning where he's still a teacher, you know, he's battling cancer. And then at the end, it's really dark. Even their clothes represent that. As the seasons progress, it gets darker and darker and darker and darker, and it takes a lot of crazy turns. So I think Vince Gilligan is a genius. And again, this is my favorite show. I could talk about this show forever. I think the saddest scene, I mean, there's so many sad scenes, but when Hank dies, you guys, oh my God. I don't cry often, but I was really upset when Hank died. The fact that Hank could not let this go, he could not let this go. The blue meth and Heisenberg, he couldn't let it go, and he was so onto it. And I think that's another realistic thing. However, I also think it wouldn't have taken them that long to figure it out, because in the South, I don't know how it is in New Mexico, but in the South, there are entire teams that track down people that are selling dope and bringing it in. So I think they would have, you know, caught on a lot sooner. That's really my only pet peeve about Hank working on this case. And how funny is it that you figured out Walter White, WW, was Walter White on the toilet? Hilarious. Oh, it was just so sad when he died, you know, heartbreaking. I think the last thing that I'm gonna say as far as like realistic or not realistic for the show is that it's two things. One, Walter gets cancer, and that's just so relatable to so many people. And in that, he wants to live his life to the fullest. He, you know, he realizes that in the last 50 years, he's never really gotten to make decisions for himself, or he's never got to live on his own terms. And I think that's just a really relatable feeling that a lot of people have when they're battling cancer. And, you know, they're just like, how am I gonna live the rest of my days on my own terms, you know? And I just think that's a really powerful moment, especially in the early seasons of this show, where Walter is like, you know what? I'm gonna take back what's mine. I'm gonna make my own decisions, and I'm going to, which is a bad decision, right? I'm going to make meth, and I'm gonna leave my family with a certain amount of money before I go. Now that's admirable, and I feel like, not the meth part, wanting to leave money to your family, but I just, you know, you really feel for Walter in the beginning, because he wants to make sure his family is okay when he's not here.
I liked it. I was good at it. And I was really I was alive.
And another realistic part of this is making meth gave Walter a purpose. It made him feel alive. It made him feel like he was in control for the first time in 50 years. It made him feel like he had something to offer, and he was like, say my name, you know, like he really took on Heisenberg. He really became that person, and he felt alive for the first time. And I think a lot of people that have lived the kind of life that I have lived can relate to that, and I feel like they did that really well. I think that was really realistic. When I quit dealing and I quit using, I didn't know who I was outside of that. I had no idea. If I don't have this, if I'm not this person, who the hell am I? I had to completely reinvent myself and take a really good, long, hard look in the mirror and say, Jessica, who do you even want to be? Who are you going to be? For your daughter, for yourself, who are you going to be? And that was hard. That was really difficult for me. So I related to Walter's feeling alive doing that. You know, he liked the danger, he liked the risk, and of course he liked the reward, which is piles and piles and piles of money. I mean, holy crap. I will say this, since I get this question all the time, did I make Walter White money? No, I did not make Walter White money. And there were times where, yeah, I made a lot of money, but the more money I made, the worse I felt. And I think this is a really interesting thing to note as well. The more money Walter makes, the more paranoid he becomes. The more money he gets, the more risk is involved. The more money he gets, the more things they have to do, because now we have to launder this money and buy a car wash and get all these things. That's pretty realistic, because what do you do with all this money? You can't just take $10 million in cash to the bank and be like, hey, how y'all doing? I have $10 million, I would like to deposit. Like, no. So that was realistic as well. I did read that the recipe and the chemicals that they showed in the show was also accurate. So man, I love this show. Reese used to watch the show with his 87-year-old grandmother, and she was a fan of the show. She was so badass when she was here. I absolutely adored his grandmother, but this is just such a good show. It has something for everyone. So I know it's 7 years old. It's hella old. Most of you guys have seen it. If you have not, you need to, because it's amazing, especially right now. Everyone is inside. So go watch every single season of Breaking Bad. You'll be glued to your chair. It's freaking amazing. Of course, it's a TV show and there's gonna be unrealistic things in it, but man, there's not one single thing I can say bad about Breaking Bad. It was epic. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this laid back, fun, entertaining video about Breaking Bad. I'm gonna end today's video here. I love you guys. Stay safe, stay sober. Do not try anything they do on Breaking Bad, ever. And I will see you guys in my next one.